10-meter data is great for low-level scenes like our main camera view, but what about aerial flybys higher up, like we'll be doing in the next tutorial? We don't need the extra terrain detail and render time cost that comes with that higher resolution terrain. 90-meter data would be more than adequate for such an application. We could download and import USGS 90-meter data, but we already have a single 10-meter DEM that we can import with the import wizard and resample at whatever resolution we choose. Launch the import wizard and select our original YNP-10M elevation file. It will be correctly identified as a WCS DEM. Click Next twice to the output file type and name page, and change the name to YNP-100M. Go to the next page and select Change Settings. Click Next 5 times to the now familiar DEMS page. This time, we're going to reduce the output columns and output rows values to increase DEM cell size. We'd like cell dimensions of approximately 100 by 100 meters, so reduce the output columns and output rows values by a factor of 10 by removing the last digit from each one. The output cell sizes will refresh to give you the new values. That looks good, so let's import. You may have noticed the plan view changed slightly after the DEM was imported. That's because we now have the 100-meter DEM covering the same area as the 10-meter DEMs, which leads to quite a bit of overlap. To see how the new 100-meter DEM resolution compares in the main camera view, select any 10-meter object in the list, select the 10-meter layer, click Select to select all objects on that layer, and uncheck the enabled box. Open another main view in the upper right quad and make a preview render. You'll notice quite a render time savings and a much lower level of terrain detail. Save the project. WCS doesn't limit you to imported data for terrains. You can also create data with the terrain generator, now with real-time preview. Create a new project and name it TG. When asked if you want to import data, answer no, as we'll be creating our own. Drag the terrain generator window down to a lower matrix quad, open the default perspective camera, and zoom back a notch with the minus key. Although we have terrain visible in the camera view, you'll notice that we don't have any DEM objects in the database. That will remain the case until we click the Terrain Generator Create DEM button. What we're seeing now is the default Terrain Generator texture, size, and elevation range. Click on the Texture Operations button and select Edit Texture. Drag the texture editor out of the way so we can see our camera view. We're currently looking at the Hybrid Multifractal texture. Open the Selected Element drop-down box and select Turbulence. The camera view will refresh with the new texture element. Try Pebbles next. In addition to creating artificial terrain, the Terrain Generator Texture Editor is a great place to experiment with different textures and understand how they work in 3 dimensions. Close out the texture editor and go to the Terrain Generator Coverage page. The default terrain size is about 30 kilometers on a side, and the elevation ranges from 0 to 5,000 meters. To choose another area, use the Area Presets drop-down box, for example, square kilometer. The elevation range and cell size will scale accordingly. The camera view will also reflect the change as the nearly 800 square kilometer terrain is reduced to a single square kilometer area. Reset the TG camera to its default position to get a better look at it. You can also set your own values for DEM dimensions, bounds, cell size, and elevation range. As with all WCS components, you can load a pre-built terrain generator from the component gallery. Select Open Component Gallery on the right side of the editor to open the gallery to the Terrain Generator section. Let's see what Groovy looks like. If you don't see any terrain, go to the General page and check the Preview Enabled box. Click Create DEM, save your project, and close out the terrain generator.